With millions of YouTube channels, lovers of the weird, wacky, and what the choose talks a lot entertainment. This is Dick's News US. Hello and welcome to Dick's News United States number 8, otherwise known as the DNUS number 8. Indeed. Hello and welcome. I have found some really weird crap that happened in the United States this week. And I gotta say, this last week was pretty interesting. And just to preface this, I did find another story about another guy getting it on with another stuffed animal, this time in a Target store instead of his car. But I chose not to cover that one because I felt like it would kind of be a rehash, of last week. Just saying. Hey. The first dicks to show up. Hey. Hail to Culture Casino. Hope you're doing well today, sir.
Thank you. Indeed. Thanks for having me. I couldn't pass up the humping of the.
Oh yeah. The stuffed animals, like, they're a hot item right now. Just gotta be honest.
A fluffy hot item.
Yeah, but I've got some other kind of crazy weird shit tonight, and it's right up the Dick's alley. Trust me on that one. Faux show. Let's say hello to the chat. Well, we have Vince Womack, being the wonderful mod that he is, dropped all my links before I got here. So thank you, Vince. I hope you're sleeping well over there across the world. Yeah, I think he's in like Denmark or some crazy shit like that. It's like, damn, dude, why are you up so late all the time? But anyway, and of course we have Culture Casino. He says, good. Didn't want to miss Dick's news.
That's right.
Indeed. And we have the wonderful John Edgar. Hail.
Hey.
Good to see you here, Culture. Yes, always great to have another Dick's just swinging in the wind,
That's right. Just swing on in.
Indeed. There's a lot of see, you're up super late, Vince. Gosh, there's a lot of interesting Dick stuff going on in Hollywood too, and we'll talk about some of that here in a little bit on Monday Meltdown over on Comics Division's channel. Make sure you catch that. And hail to Zombie Box Review. It's been a while, bro. Hope you're doing well.
Hey, Zombie, what's up, man?
Bro or ma'am, whatever. I don't know.
Dude?
I can't see you. I'm assuming it's a dude. Yeah.
Zombie Box.
Dude. Yeah. That's good to know. So what you been up to lately, Culture?
Editing, YouTube, real work.
No way. I thought you paid somebody to do all your editing now, Mr. Fancy Big Shot Man.
Hey, so I pay Grant to do the main videos every day, but then I started doing work for some other creators and stuff, some That Park Place stuff, and so I edit those, but those are small.
Yeah.
Those are 2-minute clips. So
yeah, those are pretty easy, pretty simple.
Trying to get my camera to work. Sorry about that.
No, you're good, bro. You're good. I hope everyone on the Rumble side is also doing well. I need to look at that because I always forget to look at the Rumble side.
Why?
Oh, I guess I should hide the article a little better, huh?
There you go. Rumble.
Aha. Yes, on the Rumble side, we also have Vince Womack. Hello.
Oh, hi, Vince.
I need to embiggen that. It's easier to read that way. All right. So, before we move on, John Edgar says Grant Gregory is a good dude. We don't see him enough on Mondays and Thursdays. Well, his time zone kind of makes it hard to get together with him sometimes.
Yeah, and he's usually when we're pulling our shenanigans over at Monday Meltdown or any other place that the dicks hang, you end up with him probably doing regular workday stuff. So
right.
Yeah.
Vince says my body is here, but my brain is asleep. I know that feeling all too well. Ladies and gentlemen,
I see Vince every morning, by the way, for the 6-minute daily. Vince,
hell yeah, I bet you do. He's great.
Yeah.
So, what's the craziest thing you've ever done with a rental car, Culture?
I took one to Mexico once. That was crazy. They tell you
Mileage had to be hell.
they tell you don't do that. There's a reason because
Oh, come on.
they get stolen.
No.
No, yeah, I took one down to Mexico one time to like a timeshare thing down there that somebody I knew owned, and
Was it a cartel member?
no, 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 no. No. And anyway, we were hanging out. There was a big private poker tournament down there, and so I rolled down there, to one of the coastal areas and hung out at this timeshare. Played in a poker tournament for 5 days. So
Wow, a 5-day poker tournament just
yeah,
straight? Or what kind of breaks did you guys take? Did you take the standard like hour, 2 hour breaks, or did you guys?
yeah. It was mostly the 9 hour sleep break,
Ah,
and
okay.
then the
So these were serious players. That's good.
yeah. Yeah, no, we started playing at about 7 a.m. and then until, until you had to go to bed. But no, you take a break about every 2 hours. You get about a 15, 10-minute walk around, and then you're back at it. So,
All
and
right.
you can always excuse yourself from a hand and not have to pay anything other than you have to pay an ante or something, but that's about it.
Right.
So,
All righty. Well,
if you have to
this guy
pee,
tops you. This guy tops you driving a rental car to Mexico.
oh, well,
Our first story tonight is about a Florida man who rented a car, stopped making payments on it, and then used it for Uber so he could make some money. And there's the fine gentleman himself.
um, awesome.
Yeah. So, a Florida man is facing charges after he rented a car, stopped paying for it, and used the vehicle to give Uber rides. So, Elijah Mills, 27, from Maitland, okay, was booked in Polk County Jail Wednesday on charges of grand theft motor vehicle, driving with a suspended or revoked license. How could he be driving for Uber if he doesn't have a license? Like, did he submit his girlfriend's license, his baby mama's license? Like,
It's hard to say. I mean, it depends on because you could be an Uber driver, get in trouble, and they would not know,
mm,
and then you just have to get your vehicle inspected every once in a while. So it's possible he rented the same make and model vehicle. Yeah, any number of factors here, but
yeah.
it
All
happens.
right. All right. So on Tuesday, shortly after 9:30 p.m., Mills was giving an Uber ride to a couple from the United Kingdom in Polk County who were planning to attend their wedding next week. As they were traveling on US 27 in the Four Corners area of Davenport, a Polk County Sheriff's deputy got behind them and followed by a few more deputies. The deputies boxed in and forced the Chevy Equinox, of all things, to stop. I mean, an Equinox, I guess that rates on Uber's approved list. So maybe he went to Uber and was like, what can I rent that I can do this with? That's probably where he went with that. But he told deputies the company equips their vehicles with a device that keeps the vehicle from restarting in case people stop making their payments. So Mills reportedly kept the vehicle running for 3 weeks. The guy stole the vehicle and didn't shut it off for 3 weeks.
Wow.
I know, right? Like, he lived at a gas station. I mean, come on. That's what that had to be.
That
That
had
is
to
a
be like
face of sheer determination. Okay.
the power of the power of car compels you, or
Right?
I don't know, man. It $5 a gallon or whatever,
Yeah,
man.
no shit. Like, dude. Huh. I guess that's one way to start a business. Indeed, John. You're not
Wow.
wrong.
Wow.
Man. I don't know if I'd ever be hurting so bad that I need to steal a rental car. Like, how did he get the rental car? Let's be honest. If he has a suspended license, again, Like, these are they lazy in Florida? Is that what's going on?
Oh, I mean, what if he rolled up to like a counter place at a hotel and said, "Hey, I need a rental car." He hands him a driver's license, which they probably didn't do anything but write down.
That's a fair point.
And if he had a valid credit card and he was over 25, they're probably not going to look a lot deeper. Okay, here you go.
Maybe they should pay a little bit more attention. I'm just saying, it's kind of their job. I mean,
he could know somebody that hooked him up. You don't know.
True facts. True facts. John Edgar says that engine has to be hosed now. Indeed, it does.
It's in rough shape. I mean, 3 weeks, 24 hours a day. It's a lot of hours.
And now we're bouncing from Florida to California.
Coast to coast crazy.
Bay Area Ritz-Carlton sued after woman allegedly served semen-contaminated water. I'll let that sink in for a sec. Semen-contaminated water. It's the salty water part. Yes, that's right. At a Ritz-fucking-Carlton. Yeah. Hail to Awesome One and Ruben Christopher Haynes, who are both like, what the fuck is this going on with that? Yeah.
What was it? People semen?
We'll get there.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. All right, into this dicks of a story. It was supposed to be another luxurious stay at the Ritz-Carlton turned nightmarish for one couple. Jane and John Doe, I wonder why they didn't want to be identified, of Washington State, arrived at the oceanfront luxury Half Moon Bay Resort for the weekend of November 18th of 2022. So this actually happened a while ago, but this is still funny as shit because they're suing the hotel over this. But to visit their daughter attending a nearby university for the Thanksgiving holiday and to celebrate Jane's birthday. However, plans were significantly derailed after Jane had a sip of a Ritz-Carlton branded water bottle that was contaminated with semen. Jane and John Doe are suing the $800 a night resort, Ritz-Carlton Hotel Company, LLC, and Marriott International, along with unnamed defendants. The plaintiffs have not identified themselves in the lawsuit, claiming to avoid harassment, injury, ridicule, and personal embarrassment. I wonder why they would be embarrassed by what happened. Oh my gosh, I guess we'll find out in a minute after we say hail to small time republic. The hotel could spin it as protein infused water. Well, recently Amazon did sell bottled pee as an energy drink for a little bit. It was pretty bad. And Ruben Christopher Haynes says it was high quality jizz. Yeah, Ritz-Carlton brand jizz, bro. I mean, yeah.
Well, I mean, technically, the information density in a sperm is pretty high. So, I mean, you're getting like what terabytes of data, in every blast. So it was designed to make her smarter. Maybe, I don't know.
Maybe. John Edgar says this is so gross.
It is.
Vince, you're spoiling things. All right. However, it is not only the plaintiffs' identities that are unknown. According to the lawsuit, at least 10 defendants are unidentified because the hotel company allegedly refuses to identify employees present that weekend to the couple and local law enforcement. You have a subpoena? Like if you no warrant, you go away. Whatever. The lawsuit alleges the visit began normally, and the couple properly greeted when they arrived for their stay. Nothing amiss. On the night of November 18th, the couple realized they were out of water and called the front desk for more. Moments later, a male employee arrived with at least 5 bottles and had no reason to believe the bottles were tampered with and defiled. Specifically defiled. Jane went to sleep and woke up in the middle of the night and reached out for a bottle of water. According to her, she knew something was wrong and alerted the hotel security. Jane said the water's taste and texture were off. She initially thought it was chemical contamination, but before she started to suspect it was semen. That's right. She knew it was cum based on the taste and texture of the fucking water she was drinking. Like, how much dick does this bitch suck, bro? We'll get there, awesome one. We'll get there. And yes, Vince Womack, she must be quite active, that she can identify that liquid by taste. Yes. Ruben Christopher, she's all like, I had this before. Hmm. Like, what? Oh my gosh. But wait, there's more.
No.
It would be later confirmed on January 12th after a claims adjuster told the couple over the phone that the water was defiled by semen. The lawsuit claims one of the hotel's employees ejaculated his semen into the labeled water bottle, delivered it to Jane and John Doe's room, and Jane Doe drank the contaminated water before she realized it had been defiled by a criminal deviant and that she had been sexually assaulted. I don't know if you can go that far, but that guy's certainly fucked in the head. I'm just. What? It's been confirmed by a claims adjuster being like, okay.
Can I unsubscribe from this story now?
Yeah, because that's about all that's good to read in this whole story.
Good.
But like legit,
Gross.
lady knew it was cum. She knew, you know how? Just taste and texture. It was salty and it was a little syrupy. Culture's reactions are telling me he regrets coming here tonight.
I do, actually. Hang out with Corey. I got some time.
Yeah, hey, regular viewers of the show would know that this is what the kind of fucked up shit you're gonna have to expect, bro. I mean, come on. Awesome one says this is better than Culture 15,000 Pigtails stream.
That is not happening. That isn't happening. I'm only at 11K anyway. So.
Ruby Christopher Haynes says it didn't taste like pineapple. Apparently not.
The guy must not eat enough pineapple.
See, I bet you he eats a lot of fish. And it really set off the flavor balance.
Why?
Why not? This is hilarious. I mean, if you want to leave, you can. It's all good. But you probably should wait around for this next home listing because this is pretty interesting. We're staying in California for a moment because a well-loved California home, complete with meth lab and contamination, is for sale for $1.55 million. If anyone's in the market for a well-loved meth house, $1.55 million. You nasty, Ruben. I ain't even highlighting that comment. You nasty boy. Jeez. Anyway, so legit, they're selling a $1.55 million mansion complete with the meth lab and meth contamination. In the state of Colorado, you're literally not allowed to do that.
I didn't know you were allowed to have meth labs.
It's California, bro. I mean, do they really get punished for anything out there?
True story.
I mean, they have citations for things that are like assault, battery, felonious criminal mischief. They're just like, yeah, show up at court. We trust you. totally going to happen. So it's a 6-bedroom house in Tony, San Jose, offers a great location, easy access to the freeway, and it has 2,700 square feet of living space. And there it is. There's the home has an inactive meth lab and meth contamination. Awesome one says, "You sure this isn't Florida?" Yeah, it's Cali, Silicon Valley. Yeah. So, just to touch on this real quick, in Colorado, if you have a meth house, it has to be completely demolished because the contamination literally seeps into everything. And meth, if people aren't aware, is what's called transdermally transmittable. So you can actually soak it through your skin by touching the walls, and then you can become a meth addict by touching the paint on your door or your door handles or just the door itself, because the chemicals they use to make this kind of shit are really super harsh and they eat into anything. And yeah, like you literally have to demolish the whole house in Colorado in order to sell that.
That's not great. And they're selling the house.
They are selling the house for 1.55 mil, and yep, only it's a steal. Absolutely. Should be sold for $1. It should be condemned by whatever crazy ass community this lives in and be properly demolished by a team of professionals. Yeah, because chances are they also contaminated the pipes and stuff, so it would have to have a whole new sewer run. And yeah, ain't nobody gonna buy that. I don't care what kind of, yeah. It might appeal to someone needing an easy commute to Silicon Valley with Apple's Cupertino. Never heard of that. Campus
That's where the that's Apple's Cupertino campus. It's enormous. It's where they design iPhones and shit.
Oh, okay. That shows you how much I pay attention to Apple. I had no idea. Yeah. 3.5 bathrooms, a swimming pool, luxury spa, parking garage for one car, solar panels, and air conditioning throughout. That's nice. A place you can cook up deadly and addictive illegal drugs as well. So, the listing literally says, great opportunity to own a large home on a large 6,000 square foot lot. Home is inactive meth lab and meth contamination. Vince Womack says, it looks like a nice fixer-upper if you didn't know about the meth. Well, yeah. A listing on Zillow notes the property seller increased the price by $125,000 on October 21st. To get even crazier with this house, the previous owner was accused of attacking electricity transformers. The individual who owned it was a 36-year-old named Peter Karasev. And he was arrested in March on suspicion of attacking electricity transformers. I'm assuming he was using.
He got high on his own supply, baby.
Yeah, he did. That's what they do. It's impossible to cook meth and not become addicted to it. Just saying. Even if you Heisenberg it, it's still gonna fucking get you.
Really?
Yeah. Because like you have to be able to take that stuff off in some manner that's going to make contact with your skin, and as previously discussed, it's gonna fuck you up. Clean rooms only go so far with meth because it can get into the Velcro ceiling seams for hazmat suits. It can get in, like, especially if they're bad at it, because then it's everywhere. And yeah, I spent a little time studying this kind of stuff for my first degree. Yeah. No, more just like production methods and stuff to be able to identify it. When I got my security management degree, yeah, it was my first degree. It was fucking worthless. But yeah. So this guy right here was the previous owner of this $1.55 million mansion. Uh,
Wow.
and he got arrested for exploding transformers. I have no idea why he would have done that, but yeah.
That
Similar incidents in 2022.
doesn't
So,
sound good.
as well as the meth lab, police searching his house also found a weapons stockpile, including guns, homemade liquid explosives, multiple energetic homemade destructive devices. That's a new one. Energetic homemade destructive devices. All right. So this guy was like a meth head and like a terrorist in the making. But his acts of terrorism included blowing up electricity transformers and not driving fast enough to get away. Like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? Yeah, it says it's a good value by the expensive California real estate standards. A nearby 4-bedroom house sold for $1.725 million. I would think for $1 million, even in California, you'd at least be able to get no meth.
Yeah, I
Like,
think no meth, that's a minimum ask, right?
you know, maybe like I don't. Do they give allowances for like meth kitchen renovation? Because I don't know if the seller would really go for that. Uh, he's in prison, and the first thing he does is increase the listing price. That's right. Yeah, he's got to make sure he has enough money for his defense for practically doing domestic terrorism shit. Hmm. So culture.
I
Is that
don't
a
know what
property
to do
you'd
with.
invest in?
I don't know what I no. I mean, you're right. You'd have to burn that thing down. I mean, at this point,
You
I
can't
mean,
burn
you're in
any of it.
trouble. I mean, you have okay. So like, it would be almost impossible to remediate it fully.
Mm-hmm.
If you've, and this is something that people are going to ask me how I know, but part of the process of meth is a certain kind of phosphorus
Red.
that will burn through your skin. It's like caustic. So I'm like, all right. I mean, we don't use certain types of ammunition rounds anymore, white phosphorus rounds,
Mm-hmm.
because they're very bad for you.
They really are. And another thing about it being a meth property is the mitigation costs would probably exceed, especially in California, $3 to $4 million for a property that size. Because you're talking literal raising it to the ground inside of a tent, basically. Because if you tear down the meth house wrong, it screws up the whole neighborhood and then you're liable for that. So if you're the demolition company, you don't really want that on your shit. So you have to take certain measures to make sure it's not going to spread. It's like cleaning out mold, but you know, you don't usually get addicted to black mold. You just usually die. But yeah. Vince Womack says, wouldn't a company that specializes in crime scene cleanup be able to clean that shit up? No. It literally requires material replacement of the house. That's how bad meth is. Not even once, kids. That's the only anti-drug commercial that I've ever actually agreed with. Not even once. Don't even touch it. Vince says, I don't know about that stuff. Well, that's good. That's good that you don't know that. I mean, honestly, if you were well versed in how to deal with meth shit, I mean, I would be questioning you rigorously on what you do for a living. But we all know he makes the life-size comics plush by hand. Really tiny needles on that. Just saying. Like this one. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's loving on that comics division plush. Yeah. So, my next one is a bit more of a serious and close to home story.
Close to
Uh,
home is
Yeah, here in Colorado, we have a history of public bang bang incidences. Okay.
With
And
sex?
people
Oh,
getting
not that kind of bang bang.
shot up. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, Vince Womack says, out of Russia came a drug that literally eats your flesh. Yeah, it was like gator or crocodile or some weird shit like that. And uh, it was like meth on steroids. It was insane. And it had the way they made it, it actually caused a form of synthetic necrotizing fasciitis around the injection site. And people would lose their entire limbs because they would get instantly hooked on this thing and just keep shooting. And it, yeah, pretty crazy. Say my name, Ruben Christopher Haynes. Why did you want me to say that? No, I didn't know. Vince Corey
Heisenberg.
says try that at least once. No, never.
Heisenberg.
Heisenberg.
You're goddamn right.
Okie dokie.
That's from Breaking Bad.
I have a confession. I've never seen a single episode of Breaking Bad. Yep. Never seen a single episode of Breaking Bad. I've also only ever watched like half an episode of The Walking Dead.
How about Game of Thrones?
Nope, never saw an episode of that. I went a very long time without TV. So
Yeah.
when it was airing new, never got to watch it. When it hit streaming services and stuff like that at any point, I was like, I don't care anymore. So, yeah. John Edgar says, I don't usually watch TV. It's understandable. How much, I mean, Culture might know this actually. Are cable subscriptions declining at a rapid rate because of the streaming stuff? Or
major buttloads of people are leaving satellite, cable, etc. Yeah, I mean, I think this quarter alone, Spectrum lost over 100,000, 125,000.
I've heard nothing but bad things about Spectrum as a company. So,
well, Spectrum's owned by Charter Cable. They have supposedly good internet, but crappy television. Regardless, they're the second largest cable company, and they have a pretty decent chunk. DirecTV has they're their third place for pay television. Between those two, there's about 47 million subscribers. And then you have obviously the big one, which is Comcast. Comcast is number one, and they have a giant chunk of subscribers too. I think they're about 28, 29 million by themselves. So they're pretty big. I haven't checked the numbers in a while, but the only reason I know the Spectrum one is because they just released their quarterly. So
I gotcha.
But it's one of those things. It's like you're going, okay, we used to be a nation of pay television. Everybody had cable or whatnot, and not so much anymore. I mean, you are not in the minority anymore. There's a growing group of people that are done. I don't have. I had. This is how bad I was. I had both DirecTV and a cable package in case the satellite went out.
Wow, that's expensive as fuck.
Yeah,
like,
but
damn.
Well, okay. I was going to have cable anyway because it was the fastest distribution method for internet at the time. So, I was like, well, I'm going to add a pay TV package with sports because if, my satellite goes down, I'm going to be a mess because I was addicted to sports and I am not anymore. So, yeah, they wokeified my stuff and I was like, nah.
Yeah, I hate that companies did all that. Like, I'm sure that the investors in these companies hated it too. But so on a political or on a social level, what would this move away from cable and standard programming choices do for like news information access, because usually people can go to channel 2 or 4 or whatever it is for your local stuff and find a newscast of some kind covering some kind of current event.
Okay, so how do I break this up?
Because
Right
if the
now,
internet goes down,
yeah, no, I mean you still have linear broadcast networks out there, but you have to be on digital now. There's no longer. I mean, the bandwidth is still available for transmission, but nobody does it. They've all gone to digital,
right?
digital transmission. So one of the biggest factors that kind of axed out a whole lot of people, especially I think coming in 2024, there won't be any more analog services that are done that way, even though the bandwidth is still there and people have paid for that bandwidth for 50 years. But anyway, um,
Pirate, we're
digital's
gonna have
range is,
pirate TV. That's
yeah,
gonna be cool.
well, yeah, but digital range is really short compared to wavelength
Mhm.
analog. So and so people that are, let's say, just on the outskirts of town are not going to have great service unless they get some kind of a booster. If you are in the boondocks, as a farmer or whatever, you won't have service at all. So if your cable goes out or whatever, you're just done. But as far as digital delivery, diginets are pretty expansive. So while the number of people that still get over the air television in any form, they have more choices than ever, because you have, with digital, you have a channel and then you have all these like 12 other sub channels underneath it, or 14 or whatever it is. So I think it's 16 total, but I think there's only 14 available or whatever. But anyway, so like one channel, you can get a sub channel underneath it, and it could be on ONTV, or and then like something similar to that, and then some offshoot of True TV or Court TV or something that's actually on that diginet. And then of course now people are moving to, because of the internet, they're moving to fast channels, which are free ad service television.
Like Tubi
Yeah, yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah. Pluto, Tubi. There's a bunch of them cropping up. And what's neat about those is obviously you can watch like Andy Griffith's show like 24 hours a day or something like that.
Yeah. My mother-in-law really likes using Tubi and stuff because it's got like the real McCoys and
Yeah,
stuff like that back in the day. But TV used to be a primary way to reach households in the case of an emergency.
sure. And it's still, and what's funny is, outside of your cell phone, it's still the most mass distributed thing that there is, because you explained that the internet, if it goes down,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you used to have a linear telephone. I mean, literally a line to your house and that phone. And what was cool about the phone service is if the power went out in your house, you still had phone service.
Yeah. It ran
Yeah.
on a completely different line. It
Yeah.
was fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you get the you and everybody else in the entire United States got that emergency alert test thing of the national thing?
I turned my phones off. I turned my tablet off. I turned my computers off.
That was probably a smart thing. I was warned about it for days to come, but I still didn't even think about
Yeah,
shutting my shit off.
it was still loud as heck, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a couple weeks ago, I covered the fact that a couple of prisoners got caught with cell phones because of that, which I find absolutely hilarious. But New York has their own contained citizen alert system, and I know we were going to do a story about Colorado, but I'll get to that in just a minute. Think New York City, New York State, right? It's already crazy in my mind. But when you see an emergency alert that says a man offering cup of blood to people, and it says a man is said to be following people and offering a cup of blood in the Chelsea area, use caution in the location. Literally, a citizen alert. That is an actual citizen alert from the state of New York, or the city of New York.
Yeah. Well, and again, you're probably glad you got your cell phone alert turned on for that one, because I'd be like,
Right?
no, thanks.
I mean,
what would possess you to still live in, the big city anymore. No, I mean
right?
seriously.
I
It's like
mean,
it's
I
like
never get alerts like that.
yeah, all the mental patients are like wandering the streets in New York and Chicago and most of the California cities. So why would you go there? Why would you live there? Like you guys just you set your mentally ill loose on everybody else. It's not okay.
Right? Crazy. Now, back to the more serious discussion of some crazy shit happening in Colorado. Colorado man with explosives wearing tactical gear dies at Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park. Um, for anyone who's never been to Glenwood Adventure Park, it's a really fun mountaintop kind of thrill park. Kind of, they've got the kind of like an alpine slide with the carts that go down. You have the brakes. You get to control how fast you go down this mountain. They have the thing that shoots you out over the side of the cliff, and they've got all kinds of crazy fun shit like that, right? This is a crazy ass story. I'm gonna read the whole thing. It's insane. A man died at Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park over the weekend after he illegally entered the park in Colorado High Country after hours when no employees or people were present, law enforcement says. The man was identified as a 20-year-old from the nearby town of Carbondale, although officials did not immediately release his name. A cause of death has also not been released. His body was found in a woman's restroom. John Edgar says, I read about this in the news a couple hours ago. This was crazy. I know. This is insane. According
What?
to Garfield County Sheriff's Office, the man was dressed in black-colored tactical clothing with patches and emblems that gave the appearance of being associated with law enforcement. The suspect was heavily armed with a semi-automatic rifle, semi-automatic handgun, multiple loaded magazines for both weapons. Excuse me. He was wearing body armor and what appeared to be ballistic helmet. Multiple IEDs were discovered with the suspect and a vehicle associated with him. The bomb squad responded to the scene and rendered the devices safe. The Glenwood Caverns Adventure Park was swept by members of the bomb squad as well as operators from Garfield County All Hazards Response Team. The AHRTs are crazy. To ensure no other IEDs were planted around the park. Investigators says no one in the park was at risk, and his actions were limited to the property of Glenwood Caverns. While this investigation is still ongoing and very active, it is important to realize that given the amount of weaponry, ammunition, and explosive devices found, the suspect could have implemented an attack of devastating proportions upon our community and first responders. Crazy. The man trespassed into the property overnight while it was closed and was discovered by the park's pre-opening maintenance and security inspections. The death did not take place near any of the park's secure areas and was not related to any rides or attractions. So, still don't know how he died. This is very sad and tragic incident reminds us how much our Glenwood Springs community means to us, General Manager Nancy Hurd said in some stuff. And they're going through some quick actions with them. We're going to skip down here. They searched the man's residence as well. So this talks about 6-year-old girl died at the park in 2021. A criminal investigation resulted in prosecutors declining charges against park workers, but a civil suit was filed in 2022. The state of Colorado did, however, fine the park, saying that they failed to ensure she was properly buckled in. Yes, it is located on the side of a mountain town. So there's no motive given. Don't know who he is. But this man was set up to take some serious actions. Now, my first reaction to this is he set up in a women's restroom because women's restroom, the restroom he was in was probably at a far corner of the park. Um, that being said, it's probably one of the last places people thought to check. And yes, absolutely awesome one. He says people given over to madness and demons, indeed. But that's also where I come in on how he probably died. Okay, this was probably a case of him setting up and getting ready to do it, and then probably self-deleted before he could carry it out. Just saying. I will keep an eye on this story to see if there's any updates in the future. But this is the world we live in, ladies and gentlemen, and this sounds similar to the main thing. Yes, it kind of does. John Edgar says he allegedly left a note written on the restroom wall saying something, I was not here to kill people. I just wanted to see the caves. Bullshit. He's not here to see the caves. Yeah. That sounds like self-delete. I am absolutely disgusted by the state of the world in which we live right now, where this is constantly a thing. I mean, the state of Colorado has been rocked by this kind of thing a few times.
Yeah, I wish I could say I was surprised.
Yeah. It's just sickening at this point. It's not even surprising anymore. And that's really a frightening aspect, is that it's not surprising, but it is incredibly sickening. And what can we do about this? Honestly.
Well, probably put back into shape all of the mental health hospitals that we've had over the years.
That would be good.
We need to get back to work on the DSM, which I believe has been abandoned to politics rather
It
than
has indeed.
to science. And I think that those things in equal measure would help immensely. I don't know if most people realize that, but the DSM got compromised just a few years ago.
It did. It did indeed.
And a lot of people who would normally be considered in need of help were characterized essentially, by in layman's terms, as normal, as part of the normal makeup of society. And the normal makeup of society usually doesn't plan to do these kinds of things.
Indeed.
So, yeah.
And as a psychologist, I have a huge problem with the compromising of the DSM and of the APA altogether. They were starting down a rocky road when I was in college. And the DSM-5 had some changes to it that I didn't fully agree with. But recent changes that they've made to these, to where you're getting the 5 revised or various versions of that, make it very hard for mental health professionals to not only diagnose individuals that are legitimately deficient mentally or mentally ill, for lack of a better term, but it also makes it way harder for them to treat these individuals. Because if the book says they're normal, then you're not technically allowed to start forcing change. It's against the APA's ethics codes, which is why it's become more commonplace to encourage gender dysmorphic disorder or gender dysphoria, body dysmorphic disorder, various other types of delusional thought patterns. But it also, with shooting situations like this, and even the potential for a mass killing, the problem that we run into, and this makes me a huge hypocrite by even talking about this story tonight, but it gives me an opening to say this. We need to stop televising them. Whenever you see suicides televised, suicide rates increase. Whenever there's a homicide, like a serial killer reported in the news, there's always a copycat. And the problem with mass shootings is we want to talk about them. We want to show how horrific they are, and we want to be able to stop them from happening. But the media is so focused on them that it's also planting seeds. And the media is continually corrupting the minds of individuals so that they will do things like this. And now I'm not coming out and saying like, "Oh, it's the rock music is the devil." It's not the satanic panic bullshit or anything like that. It's literally their desire to elicit an emotional response overrides what I feel would be an obligation for public safety. Because they should be able to talk about the story, but not plaster it in everybody's face 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because when you do that with other violent occurrences, you often have an increase in those specific violent occurrences. Society is predictable like that. And in my opinion, there needs to be less coverage of these events happening and more actual shit being done to deal with, like, I want armed guards in the schools. Personally, I would love that, because that is an automatic deterrent for a school shooting. I personally have absolutely no problem with putting armed SROs in my son's high school. I would prefer that personally. All right.
I don't. And again, I mean that's a small deterrent, but I mean there were armed security inside that Christian school not that long ago, and
who were in every way, shape, and form useless because they also did not receive the proper training. Because that's another problem that I have is school resource officers and sheriff's officers that are put in schools often don't receive the proper training on even a federal level, because they hold training seminars and training runs for these types of things for any type of security officer that works with the school. It's paid for by the school. You go, you take the training, and you learn how to do it. It's paid for by the police department. It's an active shooter response training and various things like that that actually increase the effectiveness of the security guards that most schools and most security guards themselves don't take the time to do. And that's a huge problem for me. I was involved in one of these training exercises not too long ago, and I watched the cops of this local town fail miserably at security measures regarding entry. I watched them fail on securing suspects. You name it, they failed at it. Even the EMTs of this small town were buckling under the pressure, and we can't have that. If we're going to have security, it needs to make the building secure. And that's my problem with what we're doing now is we're putting untrained idiots inside of schools that are waiting for orders instead of responding the way they need to. That's my personal opinion on it anyway.
I'm not going to argue with you. Like I said, I mean, to me, it's important to have teachers be able to carry, trained teachers be able to carry, and everything else. So, but it gets back to my support of the Second Amendment and the fact that an armed populace is a safer populace.
Indeed. Indeed. So over to the chat. John Edgar says, I feel as if we've got too many fatherless homes where kids aren't raised with a stable and nurturing environment, and this kind of thing is the result. I would take that one step further and say that we have a lot of parentless homes because they have digital babysitters like YouTube Shorts, TikTok, etc. Awesome One says, men's hearts failing them from fear and the expectations of those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Okay. Is he quoting the Bible? I'm assuming he's doing some kind of Christian thing. I don't know. Vince Womack says, there are many statistics that hint at fatherless homes as the reason for a lot of abnormal behavior. Yeah, there are many studies and many statistics that show a two-parent home is very important to proper childhood development. That being said, the statistics are almost similar for single father homes as it is for single mother homes. There's just far like if you have to cronbach it and get a proper statistically relevant correlation with it, but it's there. So it's very strange, but yes, the father is a big deal. I will say that right now. Small Time Republic says the media and politicians will both not let a crisis go to waste. No, you can't waste a good crisis, bro. Psh. First thing the media should do is not publish the name. Some people do acts like that because they want to become famous. This is true. Awesome One says a Memphis Christian school security caught a gunman before he could act. That's good. Problem with that talks a lot is that police have no duty to care for your safety. This is true, but they have to care about their safety. Okay. And if they're not trained to deal with an active shooter properly, then they're not caring about they're going to run away from the situation far more than they are going to engage it in a way that keeps them alive as well. Proper training is paramount to survival in any type of situation. Maybe private security. Problem with private security is then you have people who are there for a paycheck only. Because you always have to understand the motives of these people. Oftentimes when you have private security, you have someone there who needs a paycheck to be able to live. And oftentimes, if you've ever worked a private security gig, it's shit. It fucking sucks. Like, if you're standing guard somewhere for any period of time that's longer than, say, 10 minutes before you go on a roving patrol, it's bullshit. It feels like hell. At least that's my personal experience. Some guys like standing there and that, well, you're more power to you, bro. But I gotta move. Small Time Republic says parenting, social media, and overprescribing of mood-altering drugs, loss of Judeo-Christian ethos. There's a lot of factors in the mass casualty events. There are a lot of factors that go into mass casualty events, but that's what makes them so hard to stop. Because you can have someone who has a perfectly normal home life, but is being indoctrinated by online groups, and their parents have absolutely no idea what's going on. It's a good two-parent home, but the ideals of a fancy talking guy on the internet has got them all jacked up. That can lead to some problems too. We see that more so overseas than in the United States, because that's where more of the militaristic recruiting happens online. But here in the United States, we see that more with like grooming, where people go online to groom people instead towards sexual shit instead of violent shit, because the internet is just a gigantic horn dog in the United States, from what I can tell. Yeah. Awesome One says culture can start an orphanage. I mean, he could. Vince Womack says, I did private security for a short while, but in my country, we couldn't do much more than secure the building and call the police. And that's another important difference between private security and having an official SRO. Is that oftentimes private security people will not be authorized to use the necessary force to carry out the action of protection, or in most cases of the police, to stop the death, stop the dying. That's their job. They are there to stop the dying. They're not there to tend to wounded or anything like that. But it's still one of those things. But ladies and gentlemen, we're in the literal last 20 seconds of the show, and I'm sure Culture's glad to get out of here because he's like, oh my God.
No, actually, this was great. Yeah, it was great. I had a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah. But as I usually do, tell them what you got going on, where they can
Check out
find
my
you,
channel.
etc.
I'm right here. It's really easy. There you go. Done.
Boom. There it is. Excuse me. My alarm is going off because the cats are going to start yowling soon. That's not, yeah. 7 o'clock, feeding time for the heathens. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, catch us both tonight on Monday Meltdown. We're talking Panderverse, I believe.
The Panderverse. And we've got a couple great stories out there tonight. Hopefully you can join us in an hour from right now.
Yeah, 1 hour from right now, we will be kicking it over on Comics Division's channel. Make sure you're there. And as always, stay sexy, don't get murdered, and have a wonderful time. Peace.